Hey there, welcome to episode 23 of the Austin Downbeat. This week's rundown is courtesy of Bands in Town. Again, love using them if you're visiting, if you live here. It's a great tool to go to see who's playing. It covers pretty much everyone that I already knew about and those that I didn't know about. Let's hit the rundown for this week. Lots to cover today, Tuesday, July 26th. Happy birthday to my son. Have to give a shout out to him. Tonight, Boots Electric is at Far Out Lounge, as well as Rosie Flores at the Continental Gallery. Tomorrow, July 27th, we have Tiny Moving Parts at the Empire Garage. Thursday, July 28th, we have Kat and Alex at Antone's, as well as Ian Moore at the River Road Ice House. Friday, July 29th, listen up. First, we have Scott Miller and Betty Sue at the O4 Center. Also on Friday night, I will be hosting, along with my pal Johnny Gowdy, at the Pershing for Lush Life 3. You might have seen us or seen me promote Lush Life 2. We did that back in the late spring. This is at the Pershing. Doors open at 8. You can get tickets still. Follow me at Cat is on the Radio, and I'll have the links there. Lots of tagging and stories. You can just Google Lush Life 3. Do 512 has a link to get tickets in there as well. But most importantly, performing that night is Leo, Joshua Asante, and then our dear James Robinson, who's one of the producers of this event. Also, Saturday, July 30th, there is I wish I could be in 3 places at once on this date, because number one, Urban Heat has their new record release. I think I've been telling you about it at Hotel Vegas. Urban Heat had them on the show. So good. Post-punk, just so good. Also has been on the show, David Shabani. He's at Soho House in Austin on the same night. Oh, I want to be there too. And then Ben Jones and Natalie Price, both. Well, you haven't seen Natalie's episode yet, but I have interviewed her and she's coming on soon. All these people have been on the show. They are at Peggy's Porch, which I've been meaning to get out there and see a show because it sounds amazing. So can we clone me in time for Saturday? That is the ultimate question. That's my rundown for this week. Need to figure out a way to be 3 places on Saturday. I will worry about that. You just worry about my guest today is Matt Hubbard, Grammy-nominated, best known for his work with Willie Nelson, the band Seven Walkers. This guy plays multi-instruments. He gives me, he gives us a little preview of his new record that he's working on called Grandpa's Piano. He plays it on his grandfather's piano, and gives me a little lesson on the 12 bars of blues. It's a very interactive interview. Matt is wonderful, so talented, so sweet of him to stop by. And let's see, gosh, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my notes. There's so much here. I'll write it in the description of this episode. But please enjoy my interview and my conversation with Matt. He's so much fun and so talented. Love what he does. And I had a great time talking to him. So here you are, Matt Hubbard. All right. Well, we are ready. Welcome to the show, Matt Hubbard. I have a feeling this is going to be a very full and entertaining conversation. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So before I hit record, you were showing me so many things, and it hits on kind of one of my first questions. But I think before that, like, tell me a little bit about, where you're from and how you kind of grew in, because I feel like you probably play every instrument possible, and you just seem like one of those guys that's just like, I can do it all. Tell me a little bit about, like, start kind of at the beginning and tell me about how you came into music. I always love hearing about that moment for people of like, yes, music is my thing. How did that happen for you?
Well, my mother always believed that, the child should learn 3 things: how to swim, first aid and how to play the piano. So my twin sister and I both took piano lessons, I think from when we were about 5. But I actually have a photo, I don't know if it's handy, but there's a picture of me at 2 years old sitting at my mom's piano, which she still has today.
Wow.
And that I believe they got a couch, or rather they got the piano before they got any couch or anything, because she felt so strongly about it. I was born in Ann Arbor at the
Nice.
University of Michigan Women's Hospital. So my dad was a graduate student there, and then we moved to the Detroit area because he started working for General Motors.
Hmm.
And then we shortly thereafter moved to East Lansing, Michigan, where he became a professor of biomechanical engineering at Michigan State. And my mom was a special ed teacher at the high school, as well as a choir director at the church. So I went to church about 3 times a week, actually.
Wow.
And I would say that's where I first got exposed to music, like live music, and also performing all the time, because we were in little choirs, my sister and myself. And I think my first piano recital, I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Mhm.
So I took to it, quickly and had a lot of fun, but I never thought I would be a musician professionally. I figured I'd be like a scientist or something like that. But I always had so much fun with it. And then, in high school, I played trombone in marching band and did all this stuff, and was in a lot of rock bands, just kind of figuring out how to play stuff by ear.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And then I ended up going to Oberlin, which is this music conservatory. But I just went to the college because my grandparents grew up there. Actually, my grandpa on my dad's side was born there, so it's sort of like our family school. That's up near Cleveland, Ohio.
Nice.
And my twin sister went there as well, and she became a voice theater double major.
Hmm.
And she actually ended up being a lead in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, and
Wow.
been in a lot of musical theater shows. She married a drummer. The drummer from The Lion King and Fiddler on the Roof, and they actually recently moved to Seattle. So that's
Wow.
Kristen Hubbard, or now Kristen Miller. So it was fun having a twin sister. I guess we encouraged each other and stuff. But
Yeah.
at Oberlin, I took a composition class, and they were really into it. So I ended up getting a degree in electronic and computer music composition,
Oh, wow.
along with an English degree and a film degree or minor, from the college. So, after I graduated from college, I was kind of thinking, all my friends were moving to Los Angeles or New York City.
Yeah.
That kind of intimidated me. And I heard there was a lot of cute women, tons of music, and cheap weed down in Austin. So I drove down here. Yep, sure did.
Yep. And how'd that work out for you? You're still here.
Fine. I mean, the first place I lived was McKinney Falls State Park,
Mhm.
which is really cool, but they don't let you live there, evidently. So I lived up near 183 and Burnett, kind of. There was a Half Price Books that I worked at.
Yeah.
It was on Putnam. And my couple of friends from college and I moved into this dupe apartment, and of course the rent was $400 a month total, all bills included. So my rent was, my bills were like $133 a month. So
Oh my gosh.
that's what helped, helped people like myself get a foothold in Austin.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I got this house in 2003, thank goodness. So I live right by the Little Longhorn Saloon off of Burnett.
Off Burnett. Yeah. I know that strip well.
So yeah, I just immersed myself in Austin music when I got here, and my college friends couldn't really handle it, but I met Gabe Rhodes, who's Kimmy Rhodes' son. He's a great guitar player, and his mom's a wonderful singer-songwriter who's friends with Willie Nelson. And so Gabe asked me to play in Willie's daughter's Paula's band, Paula Nelson, and I ended up recording all of her records. And I met my wife Martha, Willie's granddaughter, the first time I was recording Willie for Paula's first record, Coming Home. We went to Bobby Nelson's house that's located on the golf course out there by Willie's Ranch.
Mhm.
And she had a grand piano set up, so I just set up some mics, and then that day was an amazing day. Like Willie came in and recorded with his sister, and I met them, and I met Willie's daughter Lana, and then also Willie's granddaughter Martha, who I later, had our son, who's now 22 and married. So, in that order. So, and she still lives on one of the ranches, and I have my own house here in Austin. So,
Wow. So kind of a lucky break for you to meet Gabe and get introduced to that whole thing. And then what did that do for your confidence in your career? And just did that propel you to go even deeper into the music scene? And
well, I guess so. Like, after my son was born, I figured I needed to get serious. So I went to Texas State and went to get a master's in ed and become a high school English teacher was my plan.
Oh, wow.
So, and then Amy Nelson, Paula's younger daughter, or younger sister rather, another one of Willie's daughters, asked me to come up and record this song called The Rainbow Connection, which she thought it'd be fun to do. And then we were up there for a week recording, and they had the same computer system I had learned on it at college, which was really convenient.
Yeah.
So we ended up recording that, and it was a kid's record, and then Island Def Jam wanted to put it out, so they put it out. And I remember when the Grammys came out, I was looking in the children's record category. I was like, oh, well, we didn't get nominated. And then someone called me, hey, you're nominated for a Grammy. I'm like, what? It was in the country album of the year category, which I didn't even look at. So that was pretty cool. And then, right after that, I recorded this one, which is also up for country album of the year Grammy. That's with Willie Nelson and Ray Price. This was 2003 Lost Highway.
Yeah.
So that was a good one. And I actually got Willie to play with me on another record later on. I was in a band with a Grateful Dead drummer called Seven Walkers. There's, Papa Molly from Austin, lives in New Orleans. He asked me to be in that. And then we have George Porter Jr. from the Meters on bass, who I'd never heard of before. And then that's, of course, Bill and myself. And we had Robert Hunter write the lyrics for this, which was really cool. But yeah, I engineered this album with JT Holt at the Nest, and then mixed it at my house. And we recorded, I got Willie on the record, and recorded him up at his studio in Luck, Texas, which I ran for about 15 years, from like 2000 to 2015.
Oh, wow.
We got a lot of cool recordings done in that time.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then the band, going on the tour with the Grateful Dead drummer was great. That was like from around 2008 to 2013. So I think our first gig was in Hawaii, where he lives on Kauai. So we did this little Hawaiian island tour.
Nice.
It was just called Bill Kreutzmann and Friends, I guess. But then, Robert Hunter sent him all these lyrics, and one of the songs was named Seven Walkers, and Bill thought it'd be a cool band name. And we're like, yeah, sure, whatever you say. That was really fun, definitely.
It feels like from the moment you kind of started, does it feel this way for you? Because it sounds this way, of like the minute you kind of got here, that like the gas was just kind of, the pedal was to the floor. Does it feel like that to you?
I guess it has, and I think I didn't really appreciate, or understand how, I don't know if you call it luck, but I was just prepared for the circumstance and the opportunity. So yeah, that's something I'm trying to look back on now. Now I'm 51 years old, and I moved here when I was 23. So I'm trying to take a minute to kind of look back at what I've done, and it all just seems like a blur at times, and one huge gig, so. But I just got back from Hawaii, so I'm having some relaxing time with my family, and then gonna go visit my mom this summer quite a bit too. So I'm actually not playing any gigs locally until September, but I am playing this weekend. If anyone's in California listening, playing at the Kind Bud Campout with Papa Molly. We're doing a bunch of Grateful Dead songs. That's July 9th in Laytonville, California. And I think the whole thing's sort of like a weed expo. Junior Toot, who's Toot to the Maytals son, is playing, as well as Sherry Perez, and there's a bunch of it's also a conference. There'll be a lot of product and farmers discussing growing techniques and all that type of thing. I don't really know anything about that, but we're going to be there to provide the music. So it's also with the Sly Stone bassist Bobby Vega's playing bass because George Porter couldn't make it, and on drums we have Wally Ingram, who plays a lot of San Francisco type acts. So
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I know sometimes I forget that it's legal there in California. So when I go back there, I'm just always like, whoa, wait a second. It like takes a minute to adjust. Yeah. Awesome. So you were in Hawaii, so you're traveling. So the summer's kind of chill and you're just hanging out with family. And is your mom still up in Michigan?
yeah, and actually my twin sister and I are going to do a concert though August 4th
Oh,
in
nice.
East Lansing, Michigan, at my mom's church, Edgewood Church in Michigan, probably like at 7 or 8. And then on the 6th of August, we're at the Congregational Summer Assembly in Frankfort, Michigan, doing like a twins concert series. And
Oh,
she'll
cool.
basically come out and do like, she was in Phantom of the Opera and other several other shows, like and so she'll come out and do a bunch of show tunes and classical arias and that type of thing. And then I'll come out and do like my Boogie Woogie Blues piano. I'm just working on a new record called Grandpa's Piano. So,
Yeah.
and this is actually my grandfather's piano, by the way. Let me just make a quick note.
Yeah. And what was his name?
James Downey, and this is him in the 60s
Wow.
at his home in Atlanta, Georgia. And then this is the very piano he was playing right here. So yeah, so why don't I just I'll just play that little quick Grandpa's Piano number for you. It's like the title track of the record. So
Wow. Gosh, you make that look so easy.
it's actually, I can never play it quite exactly the same. So it's just basically, the general idea, and then I, vibe on it. So
Yeah, it was funny as I was watching you play, I was like, I had this weird visual of you just kind of like, you looked like you were just like squeeze a little paint, like, put a little paint on the canvas, you're just like squeezing paint out, you know what I mean? Like it can sound however you want it to sound,
Exactly. It's very free. So
Yeah.
that's in the format of the blues, though. It's like a blues song, but within that structure, you can give it a lot of freedom.
Yeah, so is blues kind of the same setup as jazz where you sort of do have that freedom to just riff and, as long as you maybe follow a few rules maybe that people can follow along with you, and
Yeah, I
how does
mean,
that work?
the blues is basically, jazz, there's a lot of different chords and song structures, and it's all over the place. It's not standardized, like say like night and day, night and day, you are the one, only you beneath the moon and under the sun, whether near to me or far, it's no matter, darling, where you are, I think of you. Night and day, under the height of me, like that, so it's going a lot of different places and, not sticking to any one thing necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
There's still things like verses and choruses. They're just the popular songs of the time, really. But in the blues, it's basically, kind of a standardized form of chords, like, it's a 12 bar form. It's like the 12 bar blues. So you have like, let's say we'll switch, we're in the key of G for that last song, Grandpa's Piano. So it's like, this is G. So that's like the one chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 chord C, 4, 5, and that's D. So blues is basically 12 bars. It's like, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4,
Okay.
4. And on bar 5 is on the 4, or C, in the key of G. And now we're to D to 5. So basically, the blues stays to that form of 12 bars. And you can make variations, and it's not always the same. You can do it in different keys, but it's basically the form. And a lot of times, I think it was maybe developed because, if a single blues musician was traveling throughout the country, they might pick up different bands in different regions, especially if they're not super wealthy or something. So like, B.B. King or back in the day, or someone, in a similar style would, when you came through Texas, he or she, they would pick up musicians in this area and play the clubs around here. Then they'd go to Memphis and pick up musicians in that area, if they're just, struggling to make their way and don't have their own consistent band yet. So that means also anyone can just sit in, because it's sort of like they kind of generally know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So I think that's, it's kind of an agreed upon form that musicians can jam to,
Yeah.
in a way.
Does that, specifically for blues, then does that make the lyrics a little bit more important for people, just because we're gonna hear fairly similar, you can only do so many things within that structure? So does the story and the lyrics then become a little bit more important, or do you think that the listener, people, it just doesn't matter?
I mean, maybe, I think, yeah, because especially, I'm not a blues expert or anything, but I think it evokes a feeling, of someone's life experiences is kind of the general like thing about it, and maybe the struggles of life and in that form, so yeah, I think, I hadn't really thought about it like that before, but I think you're probably right. Like the words do become more important, but it's not a hierarchy. One thing is not more important than the next and all that. It's like one coherent whole that kind of somehow becomes more than the sum of its parts when it's working. Those magic songs where you just sort of like, the hair raises up on the back of your neck, no one can explain why exactly, it just happens.
So you play a lot with lots of people, it sounds like you collaborate a lot, and you get to play a lot with people. What's kind of the perfect gig, and what, describe for us what it's like when you walk off stage and it's just like, wow, that was great. What happens for you on stage and with the other people that you're playing with that really makes that just the most satisfying experience?
Well, just like, I sat in with this band, the Meagles, last night at the Little Longhorn Saloon. It's my friend Landis Armstrong, and he normally plays every week with Finger Pistol. They play Tuesdays over there from 8 to 11, but I think Dan, the lead singer, couldn't make it. So they just called me, and I happened to be in town. So I went down there And it's like, Landis is a guy who I played with for years with Paul and Nelson, and I played with him starting around like I met him in the early 2000s. And then actually the bass player that was there last night, Matt Eskies, and Mojo Nixon's bass player, he just made that movie about Mojo Nixon as well. He's also now Paula Nelson's bass player. And the drummer is also Paula Nelson's drummer now. So I think last gig we played together was on like the Outlaw Country Cruise with Paula before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We did that a few times, and then played several times with her and Willie at the 4th of July's and other type of events at Luck and everything. So we already have that chemistry, and we were just having fun because like, we were filling in, but we just did any song we knew. I like called out like Silver Wings, it was sort of like a dance crowd. They had, people, they had a 2-step class beforehand. So there were people wanting to dance. So
yeah,
that was a lot of fun and I didn't really realize it at the time, but they thought it was like one of their favorite gigs of, and the drummer, Andrew, was like, yeah, this happens once or twice a year. It's just that magic moment where everything flows right.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the biggest crowd in the world or anything, but it's like we actually had this musical moment and everybody kind of was transfixed and like, wow, because it wasn't the usual thing.
Yeah.
So that's just an example. Unfortunately, that happened last night, but there's also, I believe, music for me is a spiritual journey. And there's a song like, when I was recording The Outskirts of Town in like 2000 or 2001, up with Willie Nelson at his ranch in Luck, Texas, I was engineering. And then also we cut the song live and I was playing harmonica on the song. And I think in harmonica, you have to breathe in and out a lot. And so hopefully it wasn't just me hyperventilating, but like there was something about that when we were recording that song, all I could see was like a white light, you know what I mean? And it's hard to explain that, but that's what enlightenment is. And so when you see the white light, it's really happening. That also happened when I was recording this record with Edie Brickell.
Mm-hmm.
I got credit for co-writing like 3 songs on the album. And one is Miracles, which is one of the songs. And then we just segue into Evidence, which is like a group jam.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were recording that song, I had just gotten back from my dad's funeral in, I think, 2000. So again, when we recorded that song, I just connected with something like higher, and there was sort of that white light throughout everything. Is where you can't really play anything wrong.
Yeah.
That's not how I look at music anyway, because I don't think of it as wrong or right notes. I just sort of like see like bands of color and light in front of me, and then I just play the shapes. You know what I mean? So.
Wow. I mean, no, I don't know what you mean because I don't do that, but that's so freaking cool. And it's weird because that's kind of it. It's funny that as I was watching you play, I was thinking about you squirting paint out of paint tubes because felt like I didn't know this about you, but I felt like you were seeing color. It's weird.
I think it's called a synesthesia, I believe is what it's called technically.
There is a word for that. Yeah.
And actually Edie describes that too. Like when she hears a recording or sound, it's sort of like to me, it's like just the textures and colors and of light, that go across this,
Yeah.
But and then I can also think about music and like, as numbers when I'm thinking theory.
Yeah.
Or just look at the piano, or there's no one right or wrong way, or just actually listen to the sound.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. It's such a gift that you have. I know that you practiced and you started playing piano from a very young age, but like it still is quite the gift to be able to play the way that you play, and then also have the freedom with which you play and the room for it being whatever it needs to be in the moment and however it comes out. Like that requires a lot of talent and confidence to be able to play that way too, Well,
I think you like summed it up perfectly, because it's like you respond to the moment. So, sometimes if people just kind of get, into a habit of just sort of playing their part, and then they start tuning out and thinking about something else. And
yeah,
that's the thing about playing music. You have to listen extremely intensely. It's not about playing, it's about listening, you know.
Yeah.
And then if you're really listening and in the moment, it's like acting or something,
Yes.
you know. If someone delivers a line and then you like react to it like early because you're not actually responding to the moment, you're responding to how you remember you did it last time or something, you know.
Yeah.
So you actually have to listen, and you know it's all about timing, you know. So
Yeah.
and I have
Yeah.
a little acting experience, so because I was in a lot of musicals as well growing up, and my
Uh,
sister went with it, but
yeah. That's so awesome. Yeah, I'm a former actor, and that is very, very true. Yeah, you kind of have to know it and then throw it away and then trust that it's going to come back to you in the moment when you actually are ready to pull it out. But that listening piece is what needs to come first, because you have to go through it, in the moment. It's really, really cool that there's that similarity. Um, so you mentioned, I can't remember if it was in while we've been recording or not, but you mentioned that you're working on some new music. So what's that process been like for you now that a lot of my conversations that I have with guests talk about stuff that they've just put out, and that most of the project was through COVID and that experience. So are you kind of just now starting and you're not having to deal with a lot of the things that people have had to deal with, with COVID being a real member of the process? Or
I mean, actually, no, COVID has been a member, and I had some CDs somewhere. Crashing tambourines.
I love it. I love all the instruments.
They're ukuleles. Oh, they're probably under here. Here we go. Actually, I do have one COVID album I did that came out last year, I guess. It's I got a record deal with a new age record company. It's called a Heart Dance Records.
Nice. Look at that. Elements.
That's on the beach in Lake Michigan by my grandpa's cottage, right?
Oh.
And it's with the Healing Sound Project, which features Sarah Jane Hargis, and I was a member of it for that for this record. And it's called Wood Fire. I mean, the songs are called Wood, Fire, Earth, Metal, and Water. And it's like features her on flute, bass flute, Native American flute, and then I play like vibraphone, piano, harmonium, all these synthesizers and weird. It's kind of it's a new age record,
Yeah.
And we I engineered it here at the house and stuff. But during COVID, Sarah actually recorded some of her parts at her house and then sent them to me through the email.
Yeah.
This was kind of right when it first started, so
yeah,
people still didn't really know what was going on. So, and I think she actually has had it a couple of times. I got it in late July playing at the out in Marfa with Sean Som. That was last year. That was at Viva Big Bend Festival. I don't know if you've ever been out there.
Oh, yeah. I haven't. I was just in Marfa 2 weekends ago, but no, I haven't been out there for that festival.
So, but anyway, yeah, so we put this out and it's pretty cool. So it's on the streaming services. It's called Elements.
Yeah, Healing Sound Project. That's awesome.
I don't know if it looks backwards to you, but
no.
Oh, cool. So yeah, and then I actually have some other records I put out. This one has Willie on it. This is actually put out in 2017 though. I made it for my dad. Again, I mentioned my mom was a choir director, actually handbell choirs at our church. So this is all traditional songs, but I do it in kind of a bluesy style. And then I wrote one song called Lift Me Up that Willie plays on and his daughters Amy and Paula sing on as well. So that's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
And this is my Live at Sea Boys record.
Yeah.
For a trio. So I was playing there every Wednesday and then Thursdays, and I'll be coming back in the fall. Taking a break now, so
good. So you're going to pick back up in the fall for your residency there?
Yeah, I think so. Either at the Continental Club Gallery or Sea Boys. I mean, they may be holding the Sea Boys Happy Hour on Thursdays, but we'll see how things go.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to Europe in August though with Bonnie Bishop to Sweden and to Norway.
Nice.
So gonna be gone.
That's awesome. I've always wanted to go to Sweden. Well, I really want to go to Finland, but Sweden will do. Have you ever been there before?
No, I mean I've only been to England and Scotland, Wales, and Germany,
Yeah.
Belgium, Luxembourg, Austria, and Holland.
Only.
That's been a while though.
Yeah.
I've been there since like 2006 or something like that.
Yeah. You're going to have so much fun. Be nice just to get out of town. Literally like way out of town.
Yeah, it's hot here.
It's so hot. I would imagine Sweden would be cooler, but do you know what the weather's going to be like? Have you planned that far?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's probably a little chillier.
Yeah.
I'll probably bring a jacket or something. But another record that was a pandemic project I recently finished, is called the Brentwood Duets. It's with my friend Adam Aarons. So it's Adam Aarons, that's Ahrens.
Yeah.
And Matt Hubbard, the Brentwood Duets. So we recorded it right here in my living room. And I played the piano and he played guitar, and then I play some harmonica and stuff. So it's basically, acoustic guitar and piano duets.
Yeah.
Actually, we recorded that song Grandpa's Piano, which is going to be on my solo piano record as well. So there's a little overlap there, but that's a cool one to check out.
When do you think Grandpa's Piano is coming out?
Well, actually recorded like a good 30 minutes of it over with Chris Burns. He's at Ray Benton's old studio now. He just moved in. It's Bismo. And then before that, he was at Dale Watson's studio at Ameripolitan.
Nice.
So he has a grand piano. And I was kind of thinking maybe I should record Grandpa's Piano on my Grandpa's Piano.
On your Grandpa's Piano. Uh-oh.
But I also scheduled just a session with him because, I'm someone, if I don't have something scheduled, then I might get lazy and not do it. So,
yeah,
as opposed to waiting 4 more years to record it myself, I just scheduled time with him. And then that made me write songs and I have several new pieces that I've written for the album.
Yeah.
Sounds good too.
I love it. How long does it take you?
But to answer your question, I want to have it out this year for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you, because your songs are instrumental, so how do you come up with them? Do you do you dream about them? Do you when you lay in bed, when you lay in bed, I don't know if you're the same, but so many creative thoughts come into my brain the minute I get super comfortable, or when I'm in the shower, or when I'm driving. How does creativity come to you? At what times? Is it convenient?
I think you're right. It can come at any time. So that's what I'll just put my cell phone on the voice memo and just run to the piano basically.
Yeah.
It can be in the shower, or if I'm just thinking of a song in my head, which I do quite a bit, or just scouting kind of in my head,
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just if I just, again, schedule a recording session, then the night before I'll just force myself to come up with something. And that's
so pressure. We like pressure.
Yeah, I just like having, I think from being on an academic schedule with my parents both being teachers and going to college,
Yeah.
I respond well to that. So that was one of the challenges when I first came to Austin, is having all completely free time.
Yeah.
So that's something I think if you schedule your time and are more active, that helps you remain productive.
Yeah. Is that easy for you? That's what you like, but is that also your nature, just to do that naturally? I know a lot of musicians have to really time block and force themselves to, section out their day. Is that easy for you to do? It sounds like it is.
Well, I don't know. I think I've been overscheduled, to be honest with you, and then scrambling as well as being a dad and stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's better to work smarter than working harder.
Yeah.
And there's also musicians I know, when they come to town, they end up playing 4 or 5 nights a week, but it's okay. But if you're not moving your career forward and taking time to write songs and not just being busy all the time, it's just like anything.
Yeah.
I think but to me, it's just getting started. If I sit down in front of the piano, things will flow out. So
yeah.
That's to me the hardest part is starting. Although it's not. I mean, I think I'm flowing pretty well recently. So, but there were times in the past it wasn't as much like that. But you just have to allow yourself the space to be creative every day.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the best way for people, as we kind of wrap up, what's the best way for people to support you? And I'm a really big advocate of the musicians, not just the industry in this town, but the community in this town. And that feeds right into just the need to make sure that musicians are supported. And so I always ask my guests what the best way to support you is, so that we can help out.
We can listen to these albums, like Matt Hubbard, Nobody's Fault But Mine, that's on all this, or even buy it on Apple Music or whatever. I don't even know if you can buy songs anymore. It's all streaming. But I think just show up to gigs. Those of you in the California area, I'm playing this Saturday in Laytonville, California, and then if any of you are in Sweden, I'll be there. When I come back, to Austin in September, look out for that. And it's just about showing up, because and also if you go see a band, just give them a tip, because a lot of times they're just working for tips in a way, a lot of the time, or at least it helps a lot. So I think I think having a thriving music scene, with people out there, helps everyone. So I'm not so much about helping me, but just helping Austin survive as a scene.
I think the conversation about, I don't know that I've ever heard the conversation about monetizing being so open and talked about than it is now, where it feels like, and maybe that's just born out of the changes in the industry, and now it getting kind of, dire in the sense of a lot of people can't afford to live in the city, and yet we're the live music capital of the world, but our artists can't afford to live here. So it's this really interesting thing. But I feel like the one thing that's born out of that is show me the money. And artists are really they're making it easy for people to Cash App and Venmo, and it's very much an open conversation, where I feel like maybe it wasn't before, but now it sort of needs to be. And so there's I think it's important for people to really connect the dots very, very quickly and clearly of money is what makes it easier, and enthusiasm and support and all that. But really money is kind of at the end of the day, that's what it takes.
I do have a Venmo it's at Matt Hubbard Music. There's a picture of me in my cowboy hat.
That's a great solid photo, by the way. I love that photo.
It's by Todd Wolfson. So.
Oh, I know Todd. Yeah, we love Todd. Shout out to Toddy.
Might be a good person to interview at some point.
I just shot with him I went to his house, and he was like,
really? Wow.
Yeah, he was like, hey, just bring something just for giggles, just in case we go shoot. And so I wore I had this really obnoxious tutu that I had to wear in a wedding, but it's
great.
Yeah. So I grabbed it. So yeah, we did some photos. It was really fun. He's a blast. I love him. He lived right next to me, but he actually moved a mile away, so he's still fairly close. So. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're so talented, you're so gifted, and it was really nice just to get a glimpse of, seeing you at your piano and getting a glimpse of you at home has been really fun. Thanks for sharing all the stories.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor being invited.
Yeah, of course. Well, everyone listening can keep their eyes and ears out for September, when you are back in town from Sweden, and hopefully either Sea Boys or Continental Club, and you'll get a residency there, and we'll come out and see you for sure. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Matt, for joining it. That'll do it for this episode of the Austin Downbeat with Matt Hubbard, who's going to play us out. This is the first. I love it. All right. Until next time. Thanks, guys.